The English Bulldog stands today as one of the most recognizable breeds on Earth, its wrinkled face and stocky frame instantly familiar. But the dog staring back from modern photographs bears almost no resemblance to its ancestors. What happened in the span of 2 centuries didn't just change a breed, it rewrote the very blueprint of what a dog could become. The story begins not in dog shows or on suburban lawns, but in the blood-soaked arenas of medieval England. The Bulldog's ancestors were bred for a singular, brutal purpose. They were combat animals, designed to fight bulls in public spectacles that drew crowds by the thousands. Bull baiting wasn't entertainment in the way we understand it today. It was woven into the fabric of British culture, considered essential for tenderizing meat before slaughter, a belief held with religious conviction despite having no scientific basis whatsoever. These early bulldogs looked nothing like the companion animals we know today. They stood taller, leaner, with longer legs built for explosive power. Their jaws were engineered through generations of selective breeding to create a bite that could latch onto a bull's nose and hold through violent thrashing. But here's what most people miss about those jaws. It wasn't just strength that mattered. The shape of the face, pushed inward even then, served a specific tactical advantage. That recessed nose allowed the dog to breathe while maintaining its grip. As the bull whipped its head trying to shake the attacker loose, a normal dog would suffocate or lose its hold. The bulldog's anatomy let it hang on, drawing air through its shortened nasal passages even as its teeth remained locked in flesh. The wrinkles served a purpose too. Blood, both the dog's and the bull's, would flow away from the eyes along those channels, preventing blindness in the heat of battle. The temperament bred into these animals was paradoxical. They needed ferocity, yes, but also something more complex. Mindless aggression wouldn't work. A bull-baiting dog had to assess its opponent, wait for openings, endure pain without panic. Breeders selected for a kind of focused courage, what they called gameness. A truly game dog would continue attacking even when injured, even when logically the fight was lost. This wasn't rage, it was something colder, more calculated. The sport itself followed rigid rules. A bull would be tethered to a stake by a rope, usually 15 to 20 feet long, giving it enough range to move but not escape. Dogs were released one at a time in most matches, though some spectacles featured multiple dogs simultaneously. Successful dogs would dart in, evade the bull's horns, and latch onto the sensitive nose. A good hold could last minutes. The crowd would roar as dog and bull became a whirling mass of violence. But ownership of these dogs crossed every social boundary England possessed. Nobles kept them, butchers relied on them, street-level gamblers bet on them. The bulldog was the rare animal that belonged to no single class, representing instead something fundamentally English: courage in the face of overwhelming odds, refusal to quit, loyalty even unto death. By the 16th century, the breed had become synonymous with British identity itself. Then everything changed. But not in the way you'd expect. The early 1800s saw rising opposition to blood sports across Europe. Reformers argued these spectacles brutalized society, that watching animals tear each other apart coarsened the human spirit. Parliament heard petitions, editorials condemned the practice. Yet bull baiting remained legal, protected by tradition and by the economic interests tied to it. The venues generated revenue, the betting brought in money. The meat trade insisted the practice was necessary. When the Cruelty to Animals Act passed in 1835, it wasn't because the British suddenly developed compassion for bulls. It was politics and economics wearing the mask of morality. The law banned bull baiting along with bear baiting and other blood sports. Overnight, the English bulldog lost its reason for existence. What happened next should have been extinction. A breed developed for one purpose, that purpose now criminalized. The logical outcome was disappearance, genes scattered into mixed breed obscurity. Instead, something stranger occurred. The Victorians decided to preserve the breed but to transform it completely. Breeders in the mid-19th century began selecting for exaggerated physical features. They wanted the bulldog to retain its symbolic meaning without its violent function. They bred for shorter legs, a more massive head, a more pronounced underbite. Each generation pushed further from the athletic build of the bull-baiting dogs, but they didn't understand what they were doing to the animal's body. The head grew so large that natural birth became increasingly difficult. The short face that once provided a breathing advantage in combat now created respiratory problems. The pushed-in nose, so useful for maintaining a bite hold, became a liability in ordinary life. As the skull compressed, the soft palate at the back of the throat had nowhere to go. It collapsed partially into the airway, creating the snoring, snorting, gasping sounds that modern bulldogs make constantly. Here's what the Victorian breeders missed. Those physical traits existed in careful balance in the working dogs. Yes, the face was shorter than other breeds, but not to the extreme. Yes, the chest was broad, but the body retained flexibility. By selecting for the most extreme examples in each generation, they broke that balance. They created a dog that looked more bulldog-like than any bulldog that had actually fought bulls. The transformation accelerated through the late 1800s. Dog showing emerged as a popular pastime among the wealthy. The Kennel Club, founded in 1873, established breed standards, but these standards prioritized appearance over function. Judges rewarded the flattest faces, the widest chests, the most pronounced features. No one asked whether the dogs could run, could breathe easily, could reproduce naturally. By 1900, the breed existed in two parallel forms. Working-class owners, particularly in the industrial Midlands, maintained lines closer to the original bull baiting type. These dogs still had longer legs, less extreme faces, better health, but they were increasingly seen as inferior examples of the breed. Showing bulldogs, with their exaggerated features, became the standard against which all others were judged. What's fascinating is how quickly collective memory erased the truth. Within 2 generations, most people believed the modern bulldog had always looked that way. Paintings from the 1700s showing leaner, more athletic bulldogs were dismissed as inaccurate. The showing version became the authentic bulldog in popular consciousness, while the dogs actually capable of bull baiting were forgotten. The 20th century brought worship and crisis in equal measure. The bulldog became Britain's unofficial national symbol, representing stoic determination during both world wars. Posters featured bulldogs wearing military helmets. Churchill, the wartime prime minister, was caricatured as a bulldog so often that the connection became permanent. The breed embodied British resistance to German aggression, but the symbolic weight had a cost. As demand for bulldogs increased, breeding intensified. Puppy mills emerged, backyard breeders proliferated. The gene pool, already restricted by the Victorian breeding programs, grew dangerously narrow. Health problems multiplied. Hip dysplasia became common. Cherry eye, a condition where the third eyelid prolapses, occurred in a significant percentage of dogs. Skin fold dermatitis developed in those exaggerated wrinkles, creating chronic infections. The breathing problems grew worse with each decade. The technical term is brachycephalic obstructive airway syndrome. It's a cascade of anatomical problems stemming from that compressed skull. The nostrils are narrowed, the soft palate is elongated, the trachea is often smaller than in other breeds of similar size. Many bulldogs can't exercise without overheating. They can't cool themselves efficiently because panting, which requires airflow through the nose and mouth, is compromised by their anatomy. But here's the part that challenges everything we think about dog breeding. The bulldog is not suffering from neglect or accident. Every one of these health problems is the result of deliberate selection by breeders trying to create the perfect specimen according to show standards. The dogs that win championships, that command the highest stud fees, that appear in advertisements, are often the ones with the most severe anatomical problems. Temperature regulation alone reveals the depth of the crisis. A German Shepherd or Labrador can go for a run on a warm day without issue. A bulldog can overheat walking around the block when it's 70 degrees outside. The combination of a narrow airway, compromised breathing, and a large, heavy body creates a dog that overheats faster than it can cool down. Heat stroke isn't a risk for bulldogs in summer, it's a likelihood, yet the breed's popularity has never been higher. Celebrities pose with bulldogs. Universities adopt them as mascots. They appear in movies, television shows, and social media posts by the millions. The very features that cause medical problems are the ones people find most endearing. The snorting, the waddling walk, the inability to move quickly are interpreted as charming rather than symptoms of physical dysfunction. Misconceptions about temperament run deep as well. Modern bulldogs are often described as lazy or low energy. The truth is more complicated and darker. They're not naturally lazy. They've been bred into bodies that make exercise difficult and painful. A bulldog that seems content to lie around all day may simply be a dog that struggles to breathe when active. What looks like a calm temperament might be physical limitation disguised as personality. The aggression of the bull baiting dogs is gone, yes. Modern bulldogs are typically gentle, affectionate, surprisingly good with children, but this wasn't an inevitable evolutionary step. It was selection by breeders who needed to create dogs safe for domestic life. Dogs showing aggression weren't bred. Over generations, the intense gameness that made them effective fighting animals was bred out. What remained was the symbolic shell, the appearance without the original substance. Reproduction has become almost entirely dependent on human intervention. Natural mating is difficult because of the breed's body structure. Males often can't mount females effectively. Artificial insemination has become standard practice. Birth, as mentioned, is catastrophically difficult. Cesarean section rates in bulldogs exceed 80% in many countries. The puppies' heads are too large to pass through the birth canal. Without surgical intervention, both mother and puppies die. Think about what that means. The breed can no longer reproduce without significant veterinary intervention. This isn't nature taking its course. It's human-directed evolution creating a living creature that cannot sustain itself without constant medical support. Some argue this has already crossed the line into animal cruelty, that continuing to breed dogs with these problems is ethically indefensible, yet reform efforts face intense resistance. The Kennel Club has attempted to revise breed standards, encouraging less extreme features. Some breeders have begun outcrossing programs, introducing genetic material from healthier, related breeds, but tradition holds powerful sway. Many breeders and bulldog enthusiasts resist change, arguing that these programs will destroy the breed's unique character. The economic incentives work against reform as well. Bulldogs command premium prices. A purebred puppy from a reputable breeder can cost several $1,000s. The medical problems create ongoing revenue for veterinarians. The breed's popularity generates income for breeders, pet stores, and the entire industry built around dog ownership. Fixing the health problems would require admitting that decades of breeding practices were fundamentally flawed. Historical revisionism plays a role too. Modern bulldog advocates often claim the breed has always been a companion animal, minimizing or denying the bull baiting history entirely. This allows people to celebrate the bulldog without confronting the ethical implications of how it's been transformed. The dog becomes a lovable mascot rather than a living example of what happens when human vanity overrides animal welfare. Some countries have begun taking action. The Netherlands modified breeding regulations to prevent the most extreme brachycephalic features. Norway's Animal Welfare Act has been interpreted by courts as making it illegal to breed bulldogs and Cavalier King Charles Spaniels in their current form due to inherited health problems. These legal interventions remain controversial and face ongoing challenges. The irony is profound. The original English Bulldog, the one that actually fought bulls, was a healthier animal. It could run, breathe, reproduce naturally. It had problems, certainly. Physical demands of bull baiting meant injuries and early death for many. But those dogs were functional athletes, capable of performing the brutal work humans created them for. The modern bulldog, protected from violence, celebrated as a symbol of companionship, suffers more in quiet daily life than many of its ancestors did in the arena. What the bulldog represents now is a question without easy answers. To some, it's a cautionary tale about the dangers of valuing appearance over health. To others, it's proof that humans can successfully reshape nature to suit aesthetic preferences. The dog itself exists in the middle, unable to voice an opinion on the transformation performed on its body across generations. The breed's future remains uncertain. Conservative breeders insist that the bulldog is fine as it is, that health problems affect only a minority of dogs, that critics exaggerate the issues. Progressive breeders and veterinarians push for dramatic changes, including outcrossing programs that would fundamentally alter the breed's genetic makeup. Some animal welfare advocates argue the ethical response is to stop breeding bulldogs entirely, allowing the current generation to live out their lives without creating more dogs destined for medical problems. DNA evidence has revealed surprises about the breed's genetic diversity. Modern English bulldogs have among the lowest genetic diversity of any dog breed. This isn't just about health problems. Low genetic diversity means the breed has limited ability to adapt to new challenges, whether environmental changes or emerging diseases. The population is essentially a series of clones, variations on a very limited genetic theme. The relationship between the modern bulldog and its ancestors can be measured in more than just appearance. Testing has shown that today's bulldogs have lost much of the genetic variation that existed in the breed even 100 years ago. Every time a popular sire fathers hundreds of puppies, genetic diversity shrinks further. Every time breed standards reward extreme features, the gene pool contracts. The trajectory is narrowing, moving toward a genetic dead end. Yet people continue to love these dogs with fierce devotion. Bulldog owners speak of the breed's personality, its loyalty, its affection. They argue that dismissing the breed as nothing but health problems ignores the dogs themselves, the individuals with whom people form deep bonds. This creates a painful moral conflict for many who both love their bulldogs and recognize the ethical problems inherent in the breed's situation. The philosophical question underlying all of this is simple to state but impossible to answer. Do we have the right to breed dogs into forms that guarantee them a lifetime of medical problems? Is the companionship we receive sufficient justification? What obligations do we owe to creatures we've created and continue to create despite knowing the consequences? The English Bulldog didn't ask to become a symbol of British courage. It didn't choose to have its face collapsed, its airways restricted, its reproduction capabilities eliminated. Every choice was made by humans for human purposes, serving human desires. The dog has been an object acted upon for 2 centuries, shaped and reshaped without consideration for whether the changes serve the animal's welfare. Looking at a modern bulldog, you're seeing the result of the most extreme example of human intervention in dog breeding. Every wrinkle, every snort, every difficulty breathing represents a deliberate choice. The breed is a monument to human power over nature and a testament to our capacity for causing harm even when motivated by affection. The dogs themselves remain incapable of judgment. They exist in the present, unaware of their history, unable to comprehend what has been done to them. The story of the English Bulldog asks us to look unflinchingly at what we've created and decide what that says about us. There's no villain in this story, or perhaps everyone involved is complicit in some way. The breeders who select for extreme features, the judges who reward them, the buyers who prefer those looks, the kennel clubs that establish the standards, the media that celebrate the breed, and the public that refuses to acknowledge the problem. We are all participants in maintaining a system that perpetuates suffering. Whether the breed can be reformed, whether it should be preserved at all, whether future generations will judge us harshly for continuing down this path remains to be seen. What's certain is that the English Bulldog as it exists today is both more and less than its creators intended, more symbolically powerful, perhaps, less capable of the qualities that symbol supposedly represents, a living contradiction wrapped in wrinkled skin and compressed bones, breathing laboriously through the legacy of 2 centuries of human desire.